Welcome back, everybody. My name is Tucker, and in today's video, I wanted to preview the NBA Christmas Day games. This is always a huge day in the NBA every single year, but it's especially special this year because we're so early into the NBA season, so all the excitement is still there, and we get to see a lot of these premier matchups that we've really been wanting to see for a long time. We had some good games opening night, but this is the day that I kind of feel like the season really gets started here. So we're going to talk about all 5 games here that are on Christmas Day today, kind of talking about each matchup, to kind of get you guys ready for a really good day of basketball. But really quickly before we get started, if you enjoy content like this, then consider subscribing. I upload twice a day every day, so it's a great place for consistent NBA content. You can also leave a like rating on the video as well. That helps me out a ton. And you can check me out at various socials at the bottom of the screen. They're in a link tree down in the description below. But with those things said, we'll just go ahead and go through in order of all the games that are going to be happening today. So first up, Pelicans Heat. Some headliners here. We had so many opportunities last year. It felt like we were going to get the big Zion game, right? The Pelicans were on national TV way too often because he was hurt way too often. And hopefully now we'll get that opportunity to see a big Zion game on a big stage. It's going to be super exciting. And then the Heat, we'll kind of really get an early indication of if there's going to be a carryover from the success that they had in the bubble last year, making it all the way to the finals. Is that going to be something that's going to carry over and provide them confidence this year? Or is there going to be a bit of a drop-off now that they've lost some aspects of that team, most notably Jay Crowder from a year ago? And then how exactly is all that going to come together? And this is just a nice little warm-up game. It's not the premier matchup of the day, but it's still a really interesting one. But now we move on to one that I'm really excited about, and it's the Warriors and the Bucks. And Giannis just signed his new Supermax. The Warriors look like a team that, in my opinion, is going to be still really good this year. I'm really interested to see if Steph can regain that MVP form that he showed in the past. And I think it's going to be an exciting one, man. I really do. Golden State, I'm hoping, is going to be able to get back to that up and down style, that style where they're moving the ball a ton. Not that they didn't do that when KD was there, but the ball stuck a little bit more. It wasn't as Warriors-esque, and I'm just excited to see them get back to that. And of course, another young player that we're getting a chance to see for one of the first times is James Wiseman, a guy that pretty consistently gets talked about as like a trade asset, but I still think is someone that can be a good player down the road. I don't have a great handle on what his role is going to be here in Golden State moving forward. This year, it shouldn't be all that significant on the offensive end of the floor, considering the offensive firepower that they already have. But how well he fits in that role is really going to give me an indication of how promising his career is going to be moving forward. For Milwaukee, we'll really get a chance to see this new group that they brought in, most specifically Drew Holiday, how all that's going to come together. Are they going to be what I think they're going to be, which is the best team in the East this year, or is there going to be a bit of a fallback if Holiday is, having some injury issues? There's just a lot of these Christmas Day games. It's weird because it's almost like a season preview where we get to really see what their year is going to potentially look like moving forward. And I think the 4 teams we talked about at this point are some of the most interesting teams to consider in that, like, quote unquote season preview-esque format. But now the third game of the day, which I think you could argue is the best one of the day or the most exciting one of the day, and it's the Nets and the Celtics. The Nets throughout the preseason looked like a team that, maybe had an opportunity to surprise some people. I don't think that anybody was necessarily underestimating or underrating this Nets group. I mean, it's Kevin Durant and it's Kyrie Irving, right? And you can say what you want about those guys off the court or injuries or whatever, but as long as they're both healthy, I'm pretty sure most people thought, okay, they're going to be at least decent. But Durant looks really good in his return from injury. Kyrie has really shot the ball well, and it's his matchup once again with Boston, and that is going to be a storyline that we're going to continue to watch throughout the rest of his career. And I also really like the Celtics team as well. They're a team that I have as one of the best in the Eastern Conference, despite obviously the loss of someone like Gordon Hayward. I think that's just going to open up more opportunities for Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum to really continue to grow and develop as offensive players. As long as throughout the year Kemba finds a way to get healthy and be really good in the postseason, I think they're going to be a threat as well. And this is really going to give us an opportunity to see 2 teams that should be near the top of the Eastern Conference matching up and ideally be healthy throughout the entire year as well. The Celtics have some interesting additions, guys like Jeff Teague and Tristan Thompson, that we're going to get to see as well. And that versatility, especially defensively from the Nets, is going to be tested against a team like Boston that does have size on the wings and in the front court, which has been a bit of an issue for the Nets, at least from a roster construction standpoint. It's getting a little bit more size to match up with guys exactly like Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. How much is KD going to be counted on the defensive end to guard either of those those guys, whether it be one-on-one or, in help defense. How much is he going to actually give effort on that end of the floor? All those things are going to be really, really interesting to pay attention to and give us an indicator of how much of a threat this Nets team really is. And then same thing for Boston. I think there are question marks around this group for a lot of people coming into the season. I personally just kind of believe in what they've built with Brad Stevens, with Jason Tatum, with Jaylen Brown, and I'm kind of banking on that being a consistent factor for them and pushing them through to being one of the top teams in the East. But I could easily see them sliding back as well, and this head-to-head matchup is going to be a great opportunity to kind of test out either of those theories. And then moving on now to the one that you could argue is the most exciting one of the day, and it's Mavs Lakers. This, for as long as LeBron is still LeBron, is probably going to be one of the more sought-after matchups in the league for the next handful of years. Again, as long as LeBron is still LeBron. Because Luka is just a rare level of player where not only is he incredible, not only is he an MVP caliber guy at such a young age, but he also, seems to step up in big games, and there's not a ton of fear. Like, he doesn't seem like he's in awe of playing against someone like LeBron or like Kevin Durant or like whoever. Luka he's just a little bit different in that aspect where he goes into these games fearless and into these big, national TV games against one of the most, if not the most prestigious franchises in the entire NBA, and just goes in there with confidence that he's going to lead this Mavs team to a victory. And that is such an exciting aspect of watching Luka, not just the passing, not just the scoring, not just the step backs, but seeing his demeanor and the way that he approaches the game. For the Lakers, it's going to be an early test for them in terms of how legit their chances of repeating this season are. I know that some people certainly do have some doubts about the roster makeup for this year because they don't believe in the Dennis Schroeder, Montrezl Harrell thing. They don't know if Marc Gasol is going to be a difference maker once they get to the postseason. They really have the depth that they need. But those were questions for me all throughout last year, and they answered those anyway once they got to the postseason. So we'll kind of see how that goes. Again, it's all going to, for both these teams, really, it's all going to be about health, and it's all going to be about, are they going to be able to stay healthy for an entire season, get the seeding that they need, and then in the postseason, are Anthony Davis, LeBron James, Kristaps Porzingis, and Luka Doncic going to be healthy? It's going to be an early sign as well as to whether or not Luka is going to be an MVP contender this season. This could put him on the map very, very early if he has a huge game on Christmas Day here against LeBron. We all know that the MVP at times in the NBA can be a very narrative-based award, and one of the better narratives that you can create for yourself is the early season leader for the MVP, and Luka has a chance to establish himself in that conversation in this game. And the last up now is Clippers and Nuggets, a game that I think is getting glossed over a little bit because it is so late in the time slot, at least for me here on the East Coast. But these are two teams that definitely people could argue are being slept on a little bit. I know that I made a video talking about how I think the Nuggets are going to take a bit of a step back. That's just because there is a reliance on someone like Michael Porter Jr. to be really good this year, and I'm not fully confident he's going to be there yet. And then for the Clippers, I still have belief in this team in terms of the talent. Now, whether or not they're going to put it together, I have no idea, but I still think that they have the talent to be a top 3 team in the West. And we're going to know pretty early into the season if they're actually going to be able to put something together or if they're going to continue to be the Clippers and be a disaster and kind of fall apart here. It's also going to be interesting to watch if it's clear that the Clippers need to make an adjustment to their roster with that Lou Williams and Patrick Beverley contract combination they can send out to other teams, or if they're going to be okay just kind of running with this group, seeing what the Serge Ibaka thing does for their bench rather than having Montrezl Harrell out there, getting someone like Lou Williams a little bit more involved in initiating the offense rather than just creating for himself all the time. And then obviously the coaching adjustment, having Ty Lue out there instead of Doc Rivers. For Denver, Michael Porter Jr. is going to be the big guy to watch here in terms of, is he starting? Is he not? How much of a difference is he making? Is he only scoring? Is he actually playing defense? Is he playing team basketball? All those things are going to be really critical, not only to the development of him as a player, but to the legitimacy of Denver being, a real contender and a real threat this season. All of which are things I'm actively keeping an eye on for this Nuggets team in this matchup specifically, but really for the entire season. And that's what it comes down to for me for these Christmas Day games, is it's great to see all of these matchups. It's great to see all these teams match up with each other and really figure out where they're at. But it's also kind of an indicator of where things could be going and what's going to be a pretty strange NBA season. And maybe we shouldn't take away too much from these Christmas Day games, but I can't help myself. I'm so excited the NBA is back. These are such good matchups, and it's going to be nice to just sit around, watch some really good basketball, and then really kind of evaluate and figure out things from there and have a lot of stuff to go off of to really see where individual players are at, where individual teams are at, and it's going to be a great evaluation process, as I said, for the rest of the season moving forward. But that is going to be the end of today's video, and I thank you all very much for watching. Once again, my name is Tucker. If you missed any of my previous videos, then be sure to check out the boxes on screen. Hope you guys have an awesome rest of your day, whether you celebrate Christmas or not, and yeah, I will see you guys next time.